I've been making breakfast burritos nearly every morning for years now, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to make it yourself. Now to preface this, everything but the eggs can be made ahead of time and then quickly reheated in the morning, like the potatoes for example. I find that I can par cook them in boiling water with a pinch of salt and a dash of vinegar for about 8 minutes the night before or earlier in the week, and then fry them up in the morning to get super crispy potatoes. I find that one Yukon Gold potato of this size, once cooked, makes enough for 2 burritos, but if you prefer a different potato, anyone will work for this recipe. I've used things like russet, yams, and even purple sweet potatoes. From my experience, I found that for cooking time and assembly, slicing them into circles works best. Then into my cast iron, I'm heating it up over medium heat and adding just enough oil to cover the bottom of the pan in a thin layer. Once that oil is hot, I'll add in the sliced potatoes and cook them until the bottoms are golden brown, and flip them over to cook them on the other side. I have noticed that in my stovetop specifically, it doesn't always cook evenly in the cast iron, so I do need to move them around to make sure each potato is cooked fully. Once flipped over the potatoes, then it's time to move on to the eggs. For each burrito, I cook up 2 eggs, and into a mixing bowl goes the said eggs. And I'm going to whisk them together using chopsticks, where the tip of the chopsticks make an X. Now my favorite way to make eggs recently is using a tamagoyaki pan, which is a non-stick pan from Japan that is used for making this style of omelet. Now, if you are unfamiliar with tamagoyaki, it's a Japanese omelet where the egg is rolled upon itself to make these layers, and using this pan makes the perfect shape for a burrito. So then into a preheated oven goes a tiny little bit of butter, and once that's completely melted, I pour in about 2/3 of the egg mixture and spread it all out so it evenly coats the pan. Before the egg fully cooks, sprinkle the seasoning into it, something like black pepper, garlic powder, or even green onions, whatever your preference is, and then it's time to roll this into an omelet. The most consistent method I found for this is to use a spatula in one hand, such as my right hand, and scoop underneath the egg, and then roll that from right to left and use a different spatula to guide the egg. Then once it's all rolled up, add in the rest of the egg, making sure to tilt the pan and spread it out again. And once it looks like it's half cooked, so the bottom is just cooked and the top is still a little bit runny, then continue the roll, and this will allow the egg to stick to itself. And I like to cook mine on each side until they're both a little brown and a little crispy. Now for me, I make my flour tortillas completely from scratch, and a recipe for 10 flour tortillas will be down below in the description. But in my recipe, the fat is butter, and I put them in the fridge after I make them, and I find that I need to microwave them for about 30 seconds to a minute to allow them to become pliable enough to roll. And at that point, I also add in a little cheese. Then with everything cooked, it's time for assembly. First, potato slices. I find that 4 to 5 is the right amount to be able to roll this into a burrito. Then I add a nice drizzle of this homemade hot sauce, and that video will be linked down below as well. Then I place the egg on top of the hot sauce so the potato and egg are glued together with that hot sauce. Additionally, I do like to add greens on top of the egg, like something like spinach or arugula, but they're currently out of season. Feel free to add some if you have them. Then I like to roll it by folding the 2 ends in on the sides of the potatoes and the egg and roll them tight until, well, make a burrito. Recently I found that I like the nice crispy exterior on my burrito, so after folding it, I add to the same pan that I cooked the potatoes while it's still hot, and I let them cook for about 30 seconds on each side. I flip it over once one side is golden brown and finish the cooking on the other side. This basically allows the burrito to be sealed up. Now let's get to the crock section, as the internet always wants to see what's inside. And man, look at those layers. This may be super simple, but I think that's the point, as the whole process from start to finish maybe takes me 15 to 20 minutes, but the flavor comes in the fact that everything in the burrito except for the cheese is made from scratch, with that hot sauce being the secret ingredient that really brings everything together. Now, if you want to see how to make this amazing hot sauce for yourself in only 15 minutes, check out the video on the screen right now. I'll see you again soon.